¿Cómo están? Qué gusto saludarlos. Soy Gaby Tlaseca. Bienvenidos a la mesa de martes de Debate 22. Y hoy estamos muy contentos porque nos encontramos en la Embajada de la República de Corea del Sur. Su embajador, Tae-wan, nos ha invitado a tener una conversación muy interesante acerca del intercambio que hay entre dos países. El año pasado se cumplieron 60 años de relaciones entre Corea del Sur y México, hablando diplomáticamente, pero también recordemos que Corea del Sur, y Canal 22 lo estuvo cubriendo con este equipo que hoy me acompaña, fue el invitado de honor del Festival Cervantino en nuestro país. Así que de eso y más platicaremos el día de hoy. Thank you for the interview, Ambassador. How are you?
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting this program.
Thank you for your time. As the new ambassador of Corea del Sur, what is the agenda that you have as the here in our country?
Actually, I have worked in Embassy of Korea in Mexico 7 years ago, even though it was a very short time, 1 year. Mexico is, for me, as familiar to me. So I am very honored to work again here in Mexico, beautiful country, as an ambassador. So before coming here, I set up the 4 main agendas for Korea and Mexico, 2 countries, to go forward for the developing and upgrading the diplomatic relations. The first one is I want to reactivate the high level the exchange because of the COVID-19, the high-level exchange has been suspended. Mm-hmm. So I want to reactivate again. Secondly, I want to make some institutional economic base for the further economic relations, representing the Korea-Mexico Free Trade Agreement. And thirdly, I want to develop multi-layered the relations, including central government and plus regional government and the private companies. Finally, I want to make the cultural and the public diplomacy for both the people of both countries to understand each other more friendly.
Even the distance, because we are too far as countries. What are the most important tasks to be carried out between 2 countries, Mexico and South Korea?
Yes, the base of the people I mentioned, the 4 main agendas. The first regarding the promoting of high-level exchange. Actually, this month, the Korean Foreign Minister Park Jin will visit Mexico and have a bilateral meeting with the Minister Embajador. And in addition, I try to my best to make happen the summit level meeting in the sooner or later, because the last visit of Korean president to Mexico was in 2016. The long time has been passed, so I try to make happen again the summit level meeting in the sooner at the appropriate time for both countries. And the second, regarding the institutional economic basis, I want to I give my first flight to the Korea, resume the negotiation of Korea-Mexico Free Trade Agreement, even though it has been very long suspended. But I try my best to resume the negotiation as soon as possible. And another thing, we have many pending the economic issues, such as the bilateral investment treaty and the social security agreement and any other things. So I want to, through the concluding this kind of the agreement and the treaties, I want to make the broad institutional basis for further economic cooperation. Thirdly, regarding the multi-layer the diplomacy. So I want to try to contact with the many as regional government, because many Korean companies they already entered in various regions in Mexico. So I try to contact the regional government for the Korean companies to do business activity in a more friendly ways. And finally, regarding the cultural cooperation, I will have as many occasions here in Mexico for Mexican people to get to know more about Korean culture and the Korean cuisine and Korean art and as many other things. So I try my best. Yes.
Sure will happen, of course. And Mexico and Korea celebrate last year 16 years of diplomatic relationships. So how has the cooperation been over the time between, of course, two countries?
Yeah, the Korea and Mexico tied the diplomatic relation in 1962. Last year was the 16th anniversary of diplomatic relations. Last year, the two countries have many occasion event commemorating the 60th anniversary. So in 2005, Korea and Mexico have a strategic a partnership, the highest level of diplomatic relations, and as well as in the many international platforms such as United Nations, G20, MICTA, and any other things. The two countries have shared common international values regarding the freedom and the liberty and the human rights, and we are in many international issues we are the same common view. So we have strengthened our diplomatic relations in various areas.
In which kind of topics or things Mexico and South Korea, as you told me, think the same? Which kind of topics? Regarding the human rights. Human rights and the liberty, democracy. The Korea and the Mexico have a very similar history. After dictatorship, we have reached the democracy. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
So Mexico has an important geographical position for Asian countries, of course, because we are so close to the United States. So what advantages does this geographical position has or represent for South Korea specific?
The Mexico's advantage, geographical advantage near the United States market is one of the main reasons for Korean companies to enter Mexico. But in addition, recently, the restructuring of global supply chain and geopolitical tension between the United States and China is another point.
It's a win-win for Mexico, right?
Yeah, for Korean companies to consider more in Mexican market.
Yeah, of course. So how would you evaluate the economic cooperation between Korea and Mexico over these 16 past years?
For Mexico, Korea is the third largest trading partner after United States and China. For Korea, Mexico is the largest trading partner in Latin America. Even the Mexican, our exports to Mexico nearly account for 40% of total trade volume with Latin America. So for both countries, each other, the market is very important. So even without the free trade agreement, our trade trend between two countries have shown the strong resilience. Even during the COVID-19, the trade volume is not decreased. So I think if the institutional economic mechanism representing the free trade agreement and any other the mechanism are completed, I think that our trade volume and our economic relation is going to step to another level of the cooperation.
Okay, talking again this Mexican geographical position near to USA, many Asian companies are doing nearshoring in our country. It's a very big opportunity for us. So in this kind of things, how would you evaluate to do nearshoring ASEAN, like South Korean enterprises in our country?
As I mentioned before, the restructuring of the global supply chain and the geographical tension is not the short-term phenomenon. I think this kind of the change will be mid and long-term the change. Easily, I think this trend, I think, is not easily reversed. So the Korean companies, including the Asian companies, is the nearshoring is not short term, it's mid and long term phenomenon. Mm-hmm. So they think they have to adjust to this kind of the economic trend. Yeah. So I think the more Korean and Asian companies, I think, have to consider the more participating in the Mexico because of the nearshoring the phenomenon. So, for example, in case of Korea, the POSCO International, they have recently decided to make the new factory for the motor for electronic vehicles, and which amount to $36 million. And Kia Motors also is thinking add the electronic assembly line for electronic cars in Monterrey. So I think other the Korean companies are still thinking the more the participation, more the attention to Mexican markets. But another specific trend is now our Korean companies' interest in investment into Mexico. The area is changed. Mm-hmm. Because now the areas the Korean companies are focusing are the high level, the technology, the industries, for example, the electronic cars and semiconductors and the petrochemicals. Awesome. And it is, yes.
Okay, thank you, Embajador. We have to make a pause. Vamos a hacer una muy breve pausa. Estamos platicando con el embajador de Corea, Ho Tae-wan, quien nos está hablando de la parte y estas relaciones económicas, sociales y políticas a través de los últimos 60 años entre México y Corea. Regresando, estaremos platicando con el embajador más acerca de cuestiones culturales que nos relaciona a pesar de estar tan lejos, como ya lo hemos mencionado en esta primera parte de la entrevista. Así que quédense con nosotros, estamos para Debate 22 desde la Embajada de Corea del Sur para todos ustedes. Ya volvemos. Gracias por continuar con nosotros. Les decía que estamos muy contentos porque estamos platicando con Ju Tae-hwan, quien es el embajador de la República de Corea del Sur aquí en nuestro país. Y a pesar de que son países distantes en términos de distancia, somos muy cercanos en algunas cosas. Nos decía en el primer bloque el embajador que en el tema de diplomacia, derechos humanos, cómo pensamos en tema de libertades, somos muy similares y en otros muchos avances sociales que por supuesto son importantes. Hablamos de las cuestiones económicas, de lo importante que es el nearshoring para las empresas asiáticas en nuestro país y lo que está haciendo Corea del Sur, por supuesto, en México. Sin embargo, hay que hablar, como ya lo prometíamos, de las cuestiones culturales y ahí, en este punto, vamos a retomar la conversación. Ambassador, thank you for your time. Talking about culture, as we told in the first part of the interview, what is your assessment on the cultural exchange and cooperation between Mexico and South Korea?
Yes. Last week, the many Mexican fans went to the Blackpink, the concert. I think this shows how much Mexican people have interest in the Korean culture. I think the culture is one of the main channel to connecting the people to people. So during the 60 years, we two countries have more developed our relations through the cultural exchange. And now in Korea, many as Korean people have now the interest and consideration about the Mexican culture, history, and Mexican food. So the Mexican culture in Korea is gaining more popularity, and I think this kind of the interest is growing and growing in the future. In Mexico, other than Kpop culture, I think we are as many as Mexican people will get to know about the Korean beauty, Korean food, and Korean history, and the Korean the music.
So, how to improve this relationship between two countries, cultural relationship, in the future?
I think the best way to introduce the country's culture is through as many as the cultural event or the cultural ceremony.
As the Cervantino, for example,
yes,
last
for
year.
example, yes. This year, the Korean government is planning to hold the comprehensive Korean culture event, called Mokgoji. So in Mokgoji, we are trying to introduce as many as Korean cultures, the Korean the music, the beauty, and any other Korean games as well. So I think during the Mokgoji festival, I think the Mexican people will come to know.
When will it happen? This special
in the latter of this year, the plan was decided, but the concrete date is not fixed. But I think probably in September or October.
Okay.
We will have a Mokgoji festival in Mexico.
Very nice. So, what is the most known about the Mexican culture in Korea? I remember that you have in the capital, in the principal city in Seoul, a very big exposition about the Aztecs. that was very concurred. So, what the people is interesting to know more about Mexican culture?
Yes. Last year, Aztec civilization exhibition was very successful. I heard from the many Koreans visiting this exhibition. They told me they were very surprised to the long and the history of the Mexico. That superficially they know the history of Mexico, but they after going to this exhibition, they came to know how deep and long the Mexico has the traditional history, and I think this year if the direct airline route is resumed, I think many as Korean people come to Mexico to enjoy the Mexican, the history and culture. And another thing is regarding the Mexican food, taco, burrito are very popular cuisine.
Yes, I remember that you told me that, for example, in Seoul and another big cities, you can find tacos in Korea and another Mexican food. Tell me more about that.
Okay, when I was, before coming here, I was in Ulsan as serving as the ambassador advisory for the Ulsan metropolitan city. In Ulsan, there is one good Mexican restaurant in the central area. There are always many people in the restaurant, and even I cannot find out the seat during the lunch or the dinner time. It was even in the regional cities in Korea, Mexican food is gaining popularity.
Very nice. So, talking about TV series in Netflix, for example, or Kpop, this kind of genre of music, how these two things can spread the South Korea culture around the world? How is the importance of this kind of topics, Netflix and Kpop, for example?
I'd like to say the two things: the Korean series and the K-pop music. It's shown to the people the kind of values which every people around the world can recognize, because the gender, for example, gender issues and the worry for young generation and other, for example, the feeling, the world peace. So I think the Korean series and the K-pop is shown this kind of the values the people around the world can recognize. Another thing is the Korean the family-oriented culture, and the social problems where every country is now facing. The Korean series and things that have dealing with this kind of issues, so the people around the world have the sympathy with this kind of.
Yeah, we can connect about Netflix, about through K-pop culture, and more like this. If, as a Mexican, we want to know more about South Korea culture in Mexico, what do you suggest us to do? Where to go? Where to eat?
I'd like to recommend to visit Korean Cultural Center in Mexico City. The Korean Cultural Center has many various Korean content about Korea. So when you visit Korean Cultural Center, you can contact the Korean culture very easily. And the second, I'd like to recommend to learn Korean idioma.
Okay.
Yes,
so I think it's very difficult for Mexican people, but we can try.
But in Mexico, there are two Korean institutes teaching the Korean language called the Sejong Hakdang. So there are the two. One is in Korean Cultural Center, and another one is in Querétaro Technical University. So I think if the Mexican people learn Korean language, understand the meaning of the beautiful Korean language, I think you can easily get to know the Korean, the many things about Korea.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you for your time, Embajador. Thank you for this conversation for Canal 22. So I hope that many Mexican people can get more interest in South Korean culture. So thank you so much.
Okay, can I tell you the final things about the Mexico?
Yes, of course.
Yes. I think Mexico has the good potential to develop into the major countries in the North America, because the natural resources, the good quality of labor force, and the nearing to United States market. So the Korean companies, the people are ready to go hand in hand during the Mexico's goal or path to this kind of development. So if the institutional economic basis of any other things is made, I think this kind of cooperation will go to another level, and for this will be helpful each other. Yes.
To grow together, of course.
Yes.
Muchas gracias. Thank you, Ambassador.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting this program. I hope through this program, more Mexican people have interest in Korea.
Of course. Thank you. Muchas gracias al embajador de Corea, Ju Tae-wan, por recibirnos en la Embajada de Corea del Sur aquí en la Ciudad de México. Y gracias a ustedes por habernos visto. Y si están más interesados, saben, el Centro Cultural Coreano puede darles más información de acercarse a esta milenaria cultura. Soy Gaby Tlaseca. Hasta la próxima.